Good YouTube, this is Captain Machine here, back for another video, and this time we were talking about Warhammer Online, or Warhammer Age of Reckoning, or Warhammer the MMO, or War, which goes by many names, and they all mean the same thing. My god, I live in a noisy neighbourhood. I do apologise, by the way, this is not my 5th attempt at making this video, because I live in a noisy neighbourhood, I really do. I don't live on a main road, I don't live anywhere near a main road. I live in the middle of a suburban area. There's no reason why people should be constantly driving up and down my street. No reason whatsoever, but yet they do it, and they do it a lot. And it's Sunday morning. What are they all doing? You know, they're not going to work, I'll tell you that much. Either way. Right, so the collector's edition box set comes with some really nice stuff, to be honest with you. First of all, you get this little guy. I say little because he's huge. Which is an orc boss from the actual game. So if you ever played orc, you can meet this fella. And it's a really nice model, apart from the fact that the little staff here on top. Can you see that? It looks crooked when you get it. It looks like it's been bent in the blister pack, and it's not, because I attempted to bend it back and the metal fatigue snapped it clear off, and I've had to re-glue it. So word to the wise there, don't play with it, because it's supposed to look like that, despite the fact it looks appallingly bad. It actually looks like it's been bent over. Although I get the impression that's what they're aiming for. You also get a mouse mat, which is rather average and trite, and it's got a nice picture on it, I suppose, but it works really well with a laser mouse, so kudos to that. Music right now, actually. You get a comic book called Prelude to War, which, if you like me and you're trying to get back into the comic scene, you'll notice that Boom Comics are doing a stellar job in keeping the Warhammer comics alive, as it were, because Warhammer Monthly has gone the way they go several years ago, so there are going to be no more Warhammer comics coming directly out of Games Workshop, but they are still being made, and it's not a bad one. It's very 2000 AD-ish, if that means anything to you. The Empire section is particularly weak, but the Chaos bit right at the beginning is phenomenal, as is the Orc section, because you get a really good grasp of those characters. The Dark Elves and the High Elves are just ponce, and I can't be dealing with elves, to be honest with you. I don't like elves. Right, you also get a lovely tome, which is the art of Warhammer Online, and it is really nice to see how they went from drawing something on a piece of paper and saying, I want everything to look like this, to what it looks like in the game. It's quite interesting how well they've transitioned those two mediums from paper to video game. Obviously you also get access to all the missing bits as well. Now, first of all, if you're going to be an honest review of the game, I have to be completely honest with you. It's not finished. This game is not finished. What you actually get packaged in the box set is the beta client, which is what I downloaded months ago when I was playing the beta, and I was gradually patching it over time. The patch that goes with it to bring it onto the online version is pretty much the last open beta patch before open beta was shut down. So this game is not finished at all. In my honest opinion, I don't think we've got to the released version yet. We're still at, like, if they had patch numbers, which they haven't released any patch notes for, I reckon we're on 0.98 or something. We're not actually on 1.0 yet. If you want to be honest about it, it's not a finished game at all. There were several announcements about it right before the end of its production, saying that several key bits of content were missing. First of all, the cities were missing. We only have 2 capital cities in the game, Altdorf and the Inevitable City, and the honest truth is that's not a big issue for me, because you can quite comfortably put everything you need to put into a capital city into those 2 places. There's no need to split it amongst 3 different places. I mean, Warcraft, and I hate to do all these obvious comparisons, but they are invited, has 4 capital cities, 1 for each race, and they do serve a distinct function in the fact that they are quest hubs for that area and for that class, or that race, sorry. In Warhammer they're not. There are a couple of quests you can do inside the city, like in Inevitable City, which is the only bit I've actually had access to. You can, like, kill ghosts that are roaming around, or deliver messages for people, things like that. Really minor stuff, but it helps level up the city so that you can take part in more and more events in there, like unlocking instances and things like that. However, the biggest thing, the biggest issue is the missing classes. Basically, the original idea was each race would have a tank, a healer, a ranged DPS, and a melee DPS. So, say for example, Chaos, which is a complete set, has Chosen, which are big Chaos Warriors, Marauders, which are your melee DPS, Zealots, which are your healers, and Maguses, which are basically wizards on flying discs, and they are your ranger DPS. If you have one of each, you have a full party, as it were. You have basically all the bases covered, and a group of those 4 classes will do phenomenally well in anything they touch. Unfortunately, that's not true for everybody, because 2 of the tanks are missing, being the Black Guard for the Dark Elves and the Knight of the Blazing Sun, which is an appalling idea for a class. Why couldn't they just put Knight? Why Knight of the Blazing Sun? And they're missing from the game, which is a big issue, because that means that tanking doesn't really happen in those areas because no one is there to tank. I mean, basically they're relying upon the charity of other people to come over to their zones and do it for them, or leave their zones completely and go somewhere else. So the major complaint in the Dark Elf side of things especially is the fact that public quests do not get done, because there are no tanks to tank the elite mobs that spawn when you do it. There are also melee DPSs, which was the Hammerers and the Choppers, were missing as well from the Dwarfs and the Orcs respectively. Now, not a big issue, although I did miss the Choppers, because I honestly thought that having the entire Goblin and Orc army consisting of Black Orcs, which if you know anything about the lore are extremely rare, and Goblins, which are the Goblins, is a bit pants really. I'd like to play an Orc, just a regular Orc, and I can't, which is a shame. Because I'd love to play an Orc Chopper, you know, just running around, just savagely beating things to death. But I digress. Right, basically the game comprises of 2 functions, PvE and RVR. And if you're playing a core mechanics, which most people are, there is a very distinct line between the 2. Basically each map will have a PvE area and an RVR area. If you enter into an RVR area, then you'll be flagged for RVR, which is basically player versus player combat, not on a massive scale. RVR, by the way, stands for Realm versus Realm, which is basically our side of the server being destruction versus their side of the server being order. Here we go. And never the 2 shall meet, so you can peacefully get on with your PvE stuff unless you're doing like hardcore, where it's RVR all the time. You can peacefully get on with your grinding, which is nice. Now I suppose it's the best time to talk about the tier system. Basically, the maximum level at the moment is level 40, and there are 4 tiers in the game. And basically for each tier is a different zone. And there are basically a set of these 4 tiers for each and every pairing there is, which is Dark Elves versus High Elves, Orcs versus Dwarves, and Chaos versus Empire. And basically each tier comprises of 10 levels, so tier 1 is 1 through 10, tier 2 is 11 through 20, tier 3 is 21 through 30, and tier 4 is 31 through 40. And if you go to a tier that's too high for you, then you are going to get destroyed, because you don't benefit from the Realm vs Realm buff. And if you are in a tier too low for you, you get a debuff, which turns you into a chicken, which effectively makes you a walking pile of dead meat. You just don't know you're dead yet, because you can't cast any spells, you have no armour, your attack consists of a peck, which does like 1 point of damage. Yeah, you're going to get one shot by somebody significantly lower level than you. It's a massive way of discouraging ganking, and I really, really appreciate it. Basically, if you enter into an RVR area, be it an instance battleground, or scenarios as they call them here, or an open RVR area, which is basically an area of the map cordoned off so you can actually fight other people and capture keeps and objectives, things like that, then you'll be given a buff. If you're basically, there's like a cut-off line, which is like 8, 18, 28, 38. If you're not actually at that level when you enter into that zone, your levels and your stats will be buffed up to that appropriate level. So if you go into a star at level 1, which you can do quite comfortably and easily, you'll be buffed to level 8. If you go into a Realm vs Realm at level 11, you get buffed up to level 18.